this is clearly going to increase the pressure on Congress, the pressure that Nancy Pelosi has been trying to hold back from members of her caucus to do something, especially now that it might seem unfair and burdensome, really, to bring Robert Mueller in after he has said that he does not want to testify and would only stick to the report. This would seem to lead to them rethinking impeachment.
Andrea, I think that you are certainly already seeing that pressure build. There is this big question as to whether, in the wake of this, the House Judiciary Committee would subpoena Robert Mueller. Mueller obviously was trying to make clear that he doesn't have anything to add. I mean, really, the only way in which this would add to our sort of national discourse about this is, frankly, with the dramatic spectacle of having him appear in public. But I do think that the broader point about pressure for impeachment has already sharply escalated just in the hour or so since Robert Mueller concluded his remarks. And there was a piece of the Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler's statement that really stood out to me. He said, given that Special Counsel Mueller was unable to pursue criminal charges against the president, it falls to Congress to respond to the crimes, lies, and other wrongdoing of President Trump. And we will do so. Now, Jerry Nadler has been very careful to adhere closely to what Nancy Pelosi has laid out on impeachment, which is essentially the idea that the president is goading them into this. He thinks it would be a political win for them. They would be handing the president re-election. They would be dividing the country unnecessarily. But this, to me, really feels like a significant step in the direction of impeachment. Cory Booker, who obviously is on the Senate side, is out calling it a moral imperative now. I think that idea is likely to snowball in the wake of what Robert Mueller said. I mean, he did not specifically say, hey, Congress, you make this decision. But it was written all over the remarks that he made today. And he was clear, finally, about what his intentions were in laying out and not being able to charge the president, and essentially saying this is out of our hands at the Department of Justice. This is up to you, the United States Congress. So, I think Congress is away this week for the Memorial Day recess, so we're sort of hearing from members one by one in a piecemeal way. But I think over the next couple of weeks, you're really potentially going to see the pressure build, and we're going to get a sense of whether or not these impeachment proceedings are ultimately inevitable. Andrea.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.